welcome to the relaunch of the Band Director Blueprint. My name is Taylor Smith, your host. This was created to gain valuable insight into successful band programs and really try to get a chance to reach out to music educators and musicians from all over the land and share their insights and experience with you. Now, if you're in music school right now as a college major, high school senior, you're in your credential program, first-year teacher, five-year teacher, about to retire, it doesn't matter. We're going to have guests that will talk about topics for each and every one of you because we're all lifelong learners. So please join us on our podcast. We have Facebook group, Twitter, Instagram, and our website, www.banddirectorblueprint.com, where you can see our latest book recommendations, to keep yourself busy. Today's guest is someone that I just met recently, a couple years back, but has really shown me the true value of how to communicate as a leader, as a band director, and to share positivity through their work, always having a smile on their face. And I just enjoy spending time with this person. They're going to talk about their military career and what it was like to be a musician in the military and some of our values as professionals in the industry. You know, what about even starting your career over halfway through? You know, he's been teaching for 15, 16 years now and is experiencing that setback. And it's actually a new opportunity, and he's very excited to share with you. So take a look at Eric Villalobos on today's interview.
It's going well. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for being on the Band Director Blueprint podcast. And we got some exciting news at the end of this podcast. But for now, we're going to let people get to know you a little bit more. What's your forte? What do you do?
Yeah. So, again, I'm actually born and raised in California, Whittier, California. Went to school around the area, went to Fulton College, studied music there, studied under Tony Mazzaferro, who is a great mentor of mine, close friend, and like my second dad. So he's been a great shoulder to lean on. But also, I'm also the band director at Valley Christian High School in Cerritos. After Fulton College, I transferred over to Azusa Pacific University, where I studied music education and tuba performance, and I studied under John Van Houten, who's a professional tuba player around the area, and other people like Dr. John Burdett over there, director of bands over there. So I was the director of Elan Percussion for about 3 years, and then switched over, became the assistant band director at Santa Margarita Catholic High School for about a year, and then I got the position at Valley Christian High School. I'm also involved, this past fall, I was involved with the RCC Marching Tigers as a tuba instructor, and the Impulse Drum Bugle Corps, and then we're switching gears as far as new format due to COVID. We're doing an online format of teaching and stuff like that called the Impulse Institute. I play professionally around the area with the Orange County Wind Symphony, and I also been playing tuba with the Army Band for about 13 years.
Wow. Quite a background. And hence, that's why you're here. You know, you have a lot of wisdom, a lot of tips and tricks, some insight, and I think a lot of people could benefit from what you have to say and just your experiences, you know. And so thanks a lot for being a part of the Band Director Blueprint. And I just want to dive in. I think a lot of people want to know, what's it like being an Army musician?
Well, yeah, as far as an Army musician's considered, it's changed, but at the same time, it's still the same. I've been in it for 13 years, so I've done both. I've done active duty and also the reserves. So as an Army musician, you're still basically, well, you're always playing, which is great. You have rehearsals involved, things like that. But they're alongside with being part of the military, at least with the Army aspect, you're still dealing with how to do your soldier tasks, qualifying on your rifle once a year, and then doing also what's called the Army Physical Fitness Test twice a year. And so you got to maintain that physical fitness on top of that. And, you know, again, like I said, there's also other tasks that we have to do, like classes, to make sure that we're well informed with what's going on with the Army wide, or even federal wide, so things like that. And yeah.
I find that really fascinating that there are so many college musicians that end up going into military groups, and the benefits of what military ensembles can do for you, especially for your college. I heard some of them would pay for it, your extended learning and stuff like that. So, did you have any experience with those kind of benefits from joining the military?
Yeah, I did actually. I When I first enlisted, they give you all your incentives that's offered up, and it's basically mine specifically. I got like about a $10,000 bonus when I first signed on active duty, but I was also have what was at the time the post well, it was the Montgomery GI Bill, and then I switched over to the post 9/11 GI Bill. The benefits on that was a lot better compared to what the GI Bill was, or the Montgomery GI Bill. The post 9/11 GI Bill also has basic allowance for housing while you're going to school, so that was a bigger incentive for me to kind of get out of active duty so I can be able to go to school and finish up everything that I wanted to do. But there's also, they have the college loan repayment program, and even they have a program where you don't even have to use the GI Bill or the loan repayment program called Army Tuition Assistance, and it pays about like $4,000 a year. And most of your classes, if it's what's called a yellow ribbon program, they'll discount certain classes and things like that, and so you basically get a cheaper tuition just because you're in the military, and there's programs that communicate with the Army and whatever college institution is available for you. So a, a lot of incentives. There was it varies. There's a thing called quick ship program where you can be able to if you wanted to ship out to basic training within 30 days, you can actually earn up to probably 10,000 to 15,000, depending, and it varies. It fluctuates depending on what's going on with funding and things like that. But there's even like a 60-day ship out date or a 90-day ship out date bonus as well. So there's a lot of bonuses involved, and especially depending on what your instrument is, as far as like French horn, oboe, flute, uh, uh, and clarinet. Those ones have a little bit more incentives compared to like a trumpet or trombone or tuba, just because the army bands are always in dire need of those kind of specific instrumentation. So.
And, while we're talking about this topic, I think it's fascinating because I know absolutely nothing about it, and I'm sure I'm not the only one. And so you're giving a lot of insight onto this, saying a lot of things I don't even understand, but the practical, steps to take. And as a college student, do you think that would be a really good avenue for you to take immediately after college, or during college, before college? Like, what would you do ideally to kind of start that process and maybe move on to another career past the military?
Yeah, as far as you can basically decide whether or not you want to continue or go active duty or reserve. The nice thing with the reserves is that you can still be able to earn a paycheck and still go to school. So you're 1 week in a month and 2 weeks out of the year. So there's actually been personnel in our band that has been able to go to school and have the Army pay for it, or they utilize what's called the Army College and Loan Repayment Program. And but there's other people that go active duty, like myself. I was able to take care of some general ed things when I was on active duty. So I did it online. Granted, like I'm already playing on a full-time basis with the Army band. I was just trying to get everything else, because when I do get out of the active duty service, I can be able to continue just to school and just really focus on just the music aspect of school instead of just kind of worrying about the general ed. But really, it depends on where you want to go, where you want to see yourself go. Like if you wanted like a full-time position and kind of do college on the side, then maybe active duty might be a possibility. I know that there's been a lot of people that I've served with that got their a secondary master's just because of the fact that it was free and they can do it. Like some of these guys that I served with have like a master's or even a doctorate in music performance, or whatever that's what they did in their field, and then they'll do something completely different. Well, they'll do like business management or something on top of that with that master's, and the Army will basically grant that and give them that tuition assistance in that regard.
Nice. Who doesn't like free money, right? I'm just joking. Well, thank you for your service. Yeah, man. And hashtag Tuba Operator. That's kind of where it was born, right? I'm assuming.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Tuba Operator was a thing that I got actually from Nebraska Junkies from Dave Zirkle, who's the tuba teacher over at University of Georgia, and I like the name Tuba Operator just because I was with when I was stationed in North Carolina. Special operations, everyone was called like an operator, and so it kind of had like a special thing. I was like, ooh, that's a cool thing. But with the tuba operator, it's basically you're just holding the tuba, like for the musical side. But I liked it just because tuba operator, it's kind of like a jab to myself, but also kind of a cool, fun thing,
Yeah, I dig it. That's super cool. Out of all of the performances, I'm sure you've had hundreds, just with the reserves alone, at different events. What is one of your most memorable and iconic performances that you've done that's kind of staying at the top of your echelon there?
I'm looking at all my pictures of active duty right in front of me, and I didn't even when I was stationed in Atlanta with the Army Ground Forces Band. Not only did I play tuba, I also sang, and I sang in a big band. Actually, I sang in the Jazz Guardians, which was part of the Army Ground Forces Band. So I did a lot of Frank Sinatra, Bobby Darin, things like that, Paul Anka. And
you're not going to show us an example right now, are you?
No, not really. No. I feel like that's been such a long time ago.
Some Frank Sinatra. Let's go.
Yeah, no.
No.
Yeah, I can't do that. Gosh, that was about 10, 11 years ago when I started doing that.
I'll do it. Fly me to the moon.
That works. It's a good group.
Yeah, that's all I got. Yeah.
No, but I think when I remember the place, it was Big Canoe, Georgia, and performed for about maybe 5,000 people, and it was just strictly a Jazz Guardian concert where we were doing just things from like Arturo Sandoval to Frank Sinatra, and one of our trademark things was we opened up with Georgia in Our Mind, and I was the MC the whole time. My first sergeant, who was my supervisor, really liked how I would answer the phones back on active duty, and he pulled me aside. He's like, "Have you ever thought about singing or getting into that whole thing?" I was like, well, I sang back in college, in a barber shop back in the day, but I really just never wanted to continue it. And he put me on the spot, actually, like you just did, and I sang for him in front of everybody in the office, and it was the most embarrassing thing, but it was kind of fun. Yeah. And then he put me on the spot. He's like, okay, you're gonna sing next week, so pick a couple tunes and then we can get this running. So I had tunes already picked out, and I was one of the vocalists for the Jazz Guardians for a good year and a half, which was a real fun experience. So
that's awesome. Yeah. I remember seeing a post that you had on playing for the national anthem for the Dodger games.
That was an experience in itself. So the brass quintet, and this was with the reserves now. So we got asked to perform the national anthem with the Blood and Fire Brass, which is the brass quintet name for the 300th Army Band. It was a weird experience just because of how big the delay was, and and it was also Memorial Day weekend, so we just did a Memorial Day ceremony that morning, and then we ran over to Dodger Stadium to do the national anthem. But that was pretty fun, just because I'm a Dodger fan, and I bleed blue. I bleed blue.
Nice. Yeah, that's pretty epic.
Yeah. but I got to do it twice last year. Once with the brass quintet, and the 4th of July, which with the whole band, the whole ceremonial band. So that was really fun being able to do that.
So you have this great military career going, musician, and you're still doing it, but your passion, for some reason, is teaching. And so where does that come from? Where does that passion come from?
Actually, I have to hand that over to my middle school band director, Lisa Slack. Well, Frisbrand now. I had.
What middle school is that?
This was at Hillview Middle School in Whittier. So, she really kind of just opened the door for me and just kind of let me choose my own path of like where I wanted to see myself. And, she's like, here's your options. You can play trombone, you can play tuba or trumpet. My main was trumpet at the time. And granted, she really, and this was her first year, and I was in 7th grade at the time. And we already went through 3 band directors. And then when she came in, she wasn't very like any authoritarian person. It was just, she just presented how her teaching was. And I think I really respected that a lot more, just because it's basically, it gives a responsibility for the students to choose where they want to play. And so I appreciated that a lot more. And then I continued that in high school over at California High School in Whittier. I wanted to see where I can go with it. My band director at the time, Doug Nordquist, he kind of just same exact way. He never, again, I think high school is a little bit different than middle school. Like we have certain things to take care of, but, he basically gave me the choice of like where I wanted to see myself go into music. But I knew back in 7th grade, I wanted to teach music for a long time. And I don't know if it was because of Mr. Holland's Opus coming out at the same time too, but I felt just really inspired by those 2 teachers at a young age, being able to do that. And I wanted to be able to do the same exact thing, quite honestly. I want to be able to give back. I want to be able to, really what Doug Nordquist is, his philosophy is to create good kids. And I feel like I like to think of myself the same way. Is like, I want to be able to create good kids, just so that they're not bad adults, I want them to also have a positive, but also an accurate perception of themselves, so they know what their strengths and weaknesses and things like that are. Those ones, especially at least middle school and high school, really inspired me a lot. And just thinking about
so specifically, your teachers allowed you the freedom to kind of design your own path of success and explore what you wanted to explore without having, laid down too particular of a roadmap for you. You kind of were able to explore a little bit, and through that development and expression, you were able to, build up a passion deeper than if you were told to play tuba or you're told to play an instrument because the band needs it.
Yeah, and I think with her especially, she really just showed me how to discover, and I think that's what's also really important. And you hear a lot of band directors of like, you go to and I'm not dogging it or anything like that. It's good that they want to make a good solid curriculum for them to stick to that path. But I think it's also important to be able to give a discovery for the students, I've been noticing that a lot more because I've been teaching also elementary school at Valley Christian High School. It's a K through 12, but I'm also at the elementary school. But giving them that discovery of kind of like, oh, okay, that makes more sense. Oh, okay. Or, I just ask them like, well, what do you think about this? Okay, try it this way. Or what were your thoughts about that? Kind of giving them the option of trying to figure it out themselves. Obviously I know the answer, but I don't want to give them the answer completely.
Yeah. And what you touched on earlier was you really want to teach people how to be good people. Exactly. Not necessarily musicians. You care about teaching the person to be a whole well-rounded person, a good person, and how to communicate effectively. And so that's a really good approach that I think a lot of band directors intentionally want to do, but tend to forget because they get caught up in the minutia of all the details and all the lesson plans. Concerts are coming up. They have assessments that they need to do. Communication emails with parents, and those things pile up real quick and get in the way of being able to teach the child how to be a good person, how to be a good human. And I think, that's a really good teaching value, I think, to keep in the back of your head, for sure.
Yeah, and going back with that, I think that's one of the things that I really do appreciate with my band director in high school. Because he was also he competed in the 1984 Olympics, so he was constantly training. Even after, I mean, I went to high school in '96, but he was still training and doing the Goodwill Games and things like that. So he really thought about the sports psychology of of just what band could be. He uses this acronym called Pride, and that's where I kind of stole it from him too. As what perseverance means to us, what respect means to us, integrity, discipline, and excellence. And he's and since I still teach with him, I've been teaching with him for a good 2016 years. And so, I feel like I'm still learning from that guy, just being in the field and being able to understand what is he trying to get out of the kids, not musically specifically, but just trying for them to be good. And the last couple years, especially with the student leadership and getting them to be more responsible and actually seeing a completion of a project, things like that. We see the project being completed when the field show is put together, and the responsibilities of like putting things away. And even though they're little minuscule things or small things, they're still going to be helping the bigger picture, not just for the organization itself, but more so for themselves too, when they go on to whatever career path they want to choose. So I think that really kind of resonated with me for such a long time. And I even in college, everything's the theory of it, and the application of everything of what we've that when we go into the field, that's the whole purpose. We need to take that theory and put it into application. But I think the application sometimes is even better than the theory, just because you're learning in that way and hands-on. Sometimes things are not going to work out, which is important. Failure is also important to for growth and things like that. And I've definitely failed as a teacher a couple times, and but I learned from that. So
Yeah, and I think one of the best ways to learn something is to teach it. And even as teachers, it's important that teachers remain lifelong learners. And I think that's what makes teaching such a passionate pastime, and something that we all dig deep to want to do, not something we have to do. And, being a lifelong learner, if you want to be able to learn something new and really grasp it, then I feel like if you're able, to teach it to someone else, explain it thoroughly and concisely, then you have a full grasp of kind of that topic. And that's kind of part of the action part of it, right? You said the PRIDE acronym, and putting that into place, being able to teach it, I'm sure that those principles show up in your daily character and behavior, and the students notice. So that's all really good advice for all of us, specifically for teachers that are coming into the world now. We haven't even talked about the current situation in the climate of education, but let's ignore that for a moment. And just kind of approach a young teacher coming into the world of music education. What advice would you give them coming straight out of college and trying to find a job and trying to start their career and ignoring the current climate right now? What advice would you have had?
I would say, I as far as just taking over a program, you want to make it your own, but you can't go full force, like trying to like change everything so abruptly, because you can lose students, and depending on what size of the program it can be. But
Well, you're probably going to lose students no matter what.
right, you are probably
Right, and in fairness,
yeah,
you can't get too upset about losing students when you start.
Right, and I think that's one of the things I told my kids when I took over Valley Christian. I basically said, "Give me a year," and I think that's one of the things that they need to kind of approach it in that way too. Is just like give it a year, and then once that year is completed, then you can assess of what's going on. What went well, what didn't go well, what could you improve. Um, those are just like an after action review, we call it in the Army, just a really assess of like what you're doing as your first year teacher. Yeah, you can add on a little bit more. You can change things at a gradual timeline if you want, but I think um, giving it a year and actually seeing where your life or career goes is really important. Now, I'm saying it to other young band directors, but I also feel like it's also from my perspective as well. I think I need to hear this because trying to change things so quickly may be detriment. Yeah, you're going to lose kids, but you might lose even more kids. And so, really, I think just really kind of embracing whatever the program is also going to be beneficial. Um, and they always say, always bring people in. I highly suggest that. I bring Dr. Mazzaferro all the time, to work with my band. But at the same time, it works two ways. It's finding validity and making sure that you're on track to do the right thing, and also having they're basically going to hear the same exact thing, just worded differently, and so the kids will actually take in a lot more. Um, Even if you bring a guest clinician once a month, it's so beneficial for you and the students, and you can steal their ideas. I don't think they would really care, honestly. If they did, then I think that's maybe an ego thing. But it's really, I feel like stealing, especially when you're a young director, stealing as much as you can is such a can be very beneficial. But you also have to make it your own as well. Like whatever you stole from that director, it's a good idea, but also make it your own that would be beneficial, and to be more relatable with your own students. I think that's also another thing to consider.
So we've talked a lot about your military experience. We've discussed, entering that world as a musician, and your inspirations as a teacher and where that comes from, and how to kind of start a program and kind of the approach and mindset in how to do that. What are some of your career paths as a teacher who's been teaching for about 15 years and currently is changing jobs, and locations and such? What is it that you are hoping to achieve?
Yeah, I think.
And this is the band director blueprint. So, I mean, you got to get down and dirty and make some mistakes here. So don't hold anything back.
Absolutely. I mean, full disclosure, I'm 38 years old, and I'm kind of restarting myself as a band director. I've always been kind of like an assistant band director for a well-established program. This is my first actual year, quite honestly. And it's been great. There's been some growing pains the first couple weeks with my kids, but we grew together, and I think that's what's also a great us, like seeing our journey growing together was kind of a nice thing. I think for me is still being able to stick to my guns as far as what process I want to do. I think for my process, I really just make it kind of cut dry of like what we do. We start the minute I hit the podium, it should be silent. Then we start working on our breathing exercises. Then we should work on long tones, and yeah, having like a skeleton version of like whatever your lesson plan is good, but I think I want to get out of that aspect and can just be more second nature of it, and being able to like and challenge the kids a little bit more of where I want to take the rehearsal, I think. And I kind of noticed that in myself this year, I was starting to stick to a cookie cutter thing, which was great to start off. But then I kind of stepped back a bit, and then I started asking the kids the questions. And this is where I started making it more of where the students wanted to see themselves at. And I think that's what's important, is that, yeah, we can say, yeah, I want unanimous superior festival all the time. We got to go sweepstakes at every field show tournament. You know, if you want that, I think that will come. Whatever process you continue with. But I think what's really important is being able to give an experience for the kids that's more beneficial. I think and I'm a competitive person. I told the kids flat out, and I probably shouldn't. I told the kids flat out, yeah, I want to get superior at festival this year. And with the current situation, what's going on? We didn't get to go to festival. So it's kind of like, well, that's what I get. And I think I also kind of like give to kids of like, okay, what did you take away from this? Give me a couple takeaways, and even with Zoom and stuff like that, asking the kids, it's like, okay, seniors, go ahead and start describing about, give a couple of advice, this is your time to shine, what you really enjoyed about this year and stuff like that. And a lot of them really just appreciated, they just said, we made musical moments. And I think that was more gratifying than going to festival. And I want to create that even more. And if I stick to my process, yeah, that's fine. But I think I want to be able to connect with my kids at that professional musical level, to where like we're communicating with each other with not even saying anything, and like,
love that.
Yeah. And I think that's so much more beneficial for me. And I don't know if any other directors would agree with me, but like, once we started shutting down, I broke into tears, because we couldn't be able to do that same exact thing. Yeah, we had an alternative approach of going about it, but musical moments and finding the meaning behind what we're trying to create is also very important. And I think I can see myself switching into those gears, and I want to be able to do that even more.
That's all great. Like, man, I wish more teachers could kind of have that perspective. It reminds me a lot about this video I saw from Music for All. They post a lot of great educational resources on there, and I'll link this specific video in our show description and on our website at banddirectorblueprint.com. But it's a video, and he talks about people first, process second, product third. People, process, product. And that's kind of literally how this podcast has gone so far. We talked about caring about the people, caring about that's the most important part, is our students, and then it's the process on how which we deliver that information. And the process of how we assess success and how we move forward as an educator. And then the product is the finished product and what you do with it and how you use that. It's obviously there's you can take that people, process, product formula and include that into student leadership. You can include that into hiring and firing staff. And assessments of other staff and teachers. Like as a director, you do have to make those choices, and those are not easy. Having this base mindset of people first is always a good thing, and having the empathy for those people and understanding of where they are, where they're coming from, what they're dealing with. Because we all know that we walk into a room sometimes and we feel that frustrated or maybe we're excited to be there at school, and the students are showing the complete opposite, and you have all this energy and you're really excited and you're amped because you have a guest coming next week and you're getting closer to festival, and all these band director goals are happening and they're working, and then the kids show up and they're tired, they've had homework, they've had tests, they got no sleep, maybe they didn't eat, and you have to adjust to that. So always got to think about people before process.
Yeah, I mean, even in the military, we say the same thing. It's like, you want to take care of your soldiers, and it's the same thing with uh, with teaching. You want to take care of your students. You want them to be better than you. At least I feel that way. I want my students to be better than me. I mean, they're already smarter than me for one, but I definitely want them to be better than me, and I want them to have a better experience than I had. And that's not to discredit my experience in high school. It's just I want them to have an even better experience. So yeah, I said, well, if I'm trying to make musicians, I'm going to be banging my head against the wall and expecting different results. And I said that to my advisor back at APU, and I keep on saying that. But I say that because yes, music is important, but I think it's also more important that I'm using music as a catalyst to create good kids.
So, would you call yourself, Eric, a lifelong learner?
Oh, definitely. You and I went to Midwest. That was a good time going that. But I think that's also important for us too. We need to be able to evolve and grow, and going to those conferences is also very beneficial. And like I really try to take away a lot out of those things. Whatever Southern California Band Orchestra Association conference, or Midwest, or CAS EMEA, or
Yeah, I recommend any age music college student first year go to Midwest, go to TMEA, try to figure out how to get a flight, a car ride. Don't hitchhike, but you know what I'm talking about. I recommend going to those as soon as possible.
That, and also I think, even to go back to what we were saying about young directors, I think before they're even a young director, I think they need to actually just get more involved of whatever local high school, maybe just give lessons to the students there. Yeah, granted, they're going to be busy or whatever. At least the curriculum at APU was very busy, but I made the time to still be involved at whatever high school I was. The local high school, I was right next to Azusa High School, so I was involved there for 2 years. But I was still teaching at California High School at the same time, and it was the same way before the Army too. I was teaching at Ayala High School for a good 5 years. I taught at Valley View and stuff like that. I've been an instructor for such a long time. I think that also kind of helped me realize a lot of things. I had that young perspective of like just wanting to be able to, throw down, as it were, and really looking back at it, I just want to slap myself upside the head, just because it's like, that's really not what it's about, man. I think that's what's a lot of like music educators are really, or music education majors are really missing, is like they're just really getting involved with the theory, which is great, but they also have to put that theory into application while they're doing that at the same time. Yeah, certain programs do say, yeah, go to these high schools and get observe. But you've also said it too, the only way to learn from that is actually to teach it. That's also very important. And I have to hand it to another person that really helped me. You and I both love the guy, James Plunkett. He was my caption head when I marched troopers. And I really dug in with what he was trying to teach when it came to visual. And I took that same application and I took that as my own. And being that 20-year-old back in 18 years ago. So, yeah, it's
insert year here.
Yeah, right. That's so important about putting that application involved with your theory is very important. And we could, I feel like us as music education students cheat ourselves of just, we want to get, when I went to the Army School of Music, we call it like, oh yeah, you'll have distractions. It's like the same exact thing. We'll have distractions, but I think it's also important, if we want to have that passion, we can also take that theory and put it as application, whatever program that we get involved with as an instructor. So that's also a very big thing that I think we're missing out on.
Yeah. Well, I'm down to my final question, and it's a real simple one. But before we announce our big announcement at the end of this, and what you'll be doing in the future, and it's very exciting. And the fact that Band Director Blueprint is back up and running after quite a long hiatus. However, it's a personal project of mine, and I'm glad to be able to do this announcement soon. But right now, I'm kind of curious, what are you reading?
I'm reading a couple books, actually. I just started reading since you recommended it, actually. It is On Teaching Band by Notes from Eddie Green. Currently, I'm also reading just every chapter at least once a day, a chapter a day, and really just kind of digging in. It's the expressive conducting movement and performance theory for conductors, and it's with Gerald Schweigert with Dustin Barr, director of bands at Cal State Fullerton, and and then I have one more. It's Teaching Music with Passion by Boonshap. So
Standard.
Those will all be linked on our website and our show notes for this podcast. And, well, I think it's time for a big announcement. What do you think?
I think it is, yeah.
Are you sure you want to go through with this?
I don't know.
Is this your first podcast?
This is well, no, actually, I was asking questions at Bobby Lambert with that Band Life, but that was
shout out to that Band Life podcast by Jeff Young and Bobby Lambert. We had a late night session. We were the first late night live session at SCSBOA conference when they came all the way out west to present some amazing presentations, and they were awesome and allowed us to kind of sit in and listen to their podcast and ask some questions. So we'll also add a link to that podcast as well, and that Band Life. But cool. Well, it won't be your last, because we're proud to announce that you'll be our co-host for future episodes on the Band Director Blueprint, and really building a strong community here. So if you want to be a part of it, go ahead and go to www.banddirectorblueprint.com. We're also on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. But go ahead and just leave us your email so we can contact you and let you know what's new, what's going on with new episodes, our new guests, and we're just excited to be able to share music education, share the experiences of music educators, professional musicians, especially from the Los Angeles area and from all over the country, really. My main purpose for this podcast is because I want to learn. I'm a little greedy. I'm sorry. But I'm a lifelong learner as well, and I want to learn. And so what better way to be able to record these moments, because we all know there's those times in life where you wish you could go back a couple days and ask a question. And sometimes those days don't happen, and they won't let you. So it's best to do it now. And like I said, people first. I think that's a good title for this episode.
I like that title. That works really well.
But we appreciate you listening. We appreciate your time and energy. Go ahead and subscribe to our podcast on iTunes. And we're also on Spotify, because Spotify is awesome. I love Spotify.
Well, Taylor, I have to say thank you. I really appreciate, we got to know each other for quite almost about 2 or 3 years now. So, I feel like we're meshing really well. The chemistry's good. I think this is
we actually work in a similar field, only a couple miles away, but we actually met in Chicago, Illinois at Midwest Clinic a couple years back at the, what was that place called? Miller's?
No, it wasn't Miller's. It was...
But you guys know, if you've been to Midwest, you know, yeah. So I'm glad that we have our friendship, and thank you. That means a lot to me.
Yeah.
All right. Is there anything else? How do people find you?
They can find me on Facebook or Instagram. My Instagram is Tuba Operator. And then, they can just follow me on Instagram. I've been kind of half tempted to start up a website. I've been trying to debate it back and forth whether it's even worth it. But
do it. I'm 100% advocate of that.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think I will.
We'll have episodes on social media marketing and how to market yourself as an educator in a positive light without looking too.
I can be the guinea pig.
Exactly. All right. And last question of the day: what are you drinking?
Can I disclose this one?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm really big into microbrewery, and so my friend brought this over. It's Golden Road Balboa Blonde. So it's a good, crisp beer. I'll take it. I'm really into, I think if I wasn't teaching music, I think I would be brewing beer.
Yes.
I just have a nice appreciation for that. So.
All right. Thanks a lot to Eric for being here, and we'll catch you next time on the Band Director Blueprint.
Thanks, Taylor.
All right, that was Eric Villalobos, and incredible wisdom has been dropped just now. I hope you guys enjoyed that episode of the Band Director Blueprint. Please check out our website, banddirectorblueprint.com, and find us on Facebook, Instagram. We're out there, so come get us. See you next time.